Hi, everyone. This is Joyce Bender on Disability Matters with Joyce Bender on voiceamerica.com. Thank you for joining us today. I really, really appreciate it. I hope you know that. And to all of my listeners around the world, who knew that I would go from 14 countries to hundreds? Who would have ever thought that? And you know what? Some of them are like remote countries in Africa, and some of them only have one listener. And I tell them all the time, one person can make a difference. Do you know how much I appreciate you? One people, wherever you are, one person. Thank you. Thank you. So, anyway, one of our countries after the United States with the most listeners is, I need the ding, ding, ding. Ready?
Ready.
Singapore. Singapore.
Oh,
How about that? Thank you, Singapore. And thank you, all of the people in that country that are listening to the show. And a special shout out to Yoshiko Dart. Yoshiko, I'm still with you, still doing this because, I want people to know that people with disabilities also have a history. And I mean, it's not being talked about. It was never talked about a lot. Now it's just not. But Justin Dart was one of the great heroes of the civil rights leaders. He and Yoshiko went around the country 5 times. I used to think it was less, but she told me. Um, Going, meeting with groups saying, hey, you should support the Americans with Disabilities Act. What a wonderful couple they are. And of course, uh, we lost Justin in, I think it was 2002, but we still have Yoshiko. So, Yoshiko, love you. Thank you for being with us. And Highmark. What a wonderful company. Sponsor for years, of lead sponsor of this radio show. Thank you, everyone. And I must tell you, I am so excited today because of our guest, who is also known in the United States as a great disability rights leader. And I'm so honored to say, my friend, Chris Griffin, welcome to the show.
thank you very much, Joyce. Great to be here.
Well, Chris, you just heard me tell you about all these new listeners.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind sharing your journey with them so they'll know more about you.
Where do I begin, Joyce? So
Uh,
I was a woman with a disability. I was working as an engineer actually, and I decided to go to law school. And I went to law school with a whole different game plan in mind. But while I was in law school, the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed. And I started to learn about that, and I was able to get myself involved with the ADA network, is what it was called at the time. And that really, launched a different career path for me because I knew it was an exciting new law that I wanted to be a part of. And, selfish in some respects because I was a woman with a disability and it was going to help me, but I knew it would help a lot of other people with disabilities too. So that's how I ended up doing disability rights work.
and then you went to the government.
Yeah, well,
And
I went to the Disability Law Center first. I had a Skadden Fellowship, and then I went and worked for the EEOC as a attorney advisor for the vice chair in the Clinton administration. I worked for a guy named Paul Igasaki, who was a great Japanese civil rights leader, and he after I left there, I went back to the Disability Law Center, which is the Protection Advocacy Agency of Massachusetts, and I was the executive director there. From there, I ended up going to Washington and becoming a commissioner at the EEOC. And I did that for several years till Obama was elected. because I was a Democratic appointee in a Republican administration. And then when President Obama came in, he elevated myself and the other Democrat to the leadership position. So I was vice chair of the EEOC. And then from there, I moved over to be deputy director of the Office of Personnel Management, which the president nominated me for, and I was confirmed by the Senate. And we did a lot of great things while I was there on especially on employment of people with disabilities. We got the president to sign an executive order that increased the hiring of people with disabilities in the federal government. And it was, it was a great time to be there. So it was a lot of fun and we got a lot of things accomplished.
Well, I know, first of all, the Office of Personnel Management is the largest human resources agency in the world because it's the whole federal government.
Exactly.
Um, but I remember, I was it the 20th anniversary?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yeah,
When President Obama, uh, when he came out and spoke, and this is when the executive order for hiring 100,000 people over 5 years came to be.
exactly.
And what I remember is you going up with the president and other appointees and having your photograph taken.
Yeah, I was sitting right next to him when he signed that executive order. It was a thrill. It really was
Oh,
great.
is it
And then if
that's
you remember, you were there when we all, a big group of us had our all disability rights leaders in the country. We had our picture taken with him in the I forget the name of that room. It's a great room right off of the garden there. Anyway, that was a great photo too. It was fun.
yeah. My funny story about that day is that uh, I had been asked to introduce the president,
Yeah.
and I was so honored that I would be asked to do that. So I put my speech together, sent it in to be reviewed, and it came, yes, it's fine. Oh, I couldn't believe it. As a matter of fact, I couldn't believe that the name next to me was Patti LaBelle, who is absolutely one of my most favorite singers. And anyway, so David, who was the medical examiner on CSI, was also there. And he said something about introducing the president. Oh, you are? And I said, yes. And he said he was confused about this. The next thing I know, Valerie Jarrett is saying, and
Yeah.
now that international employment executive coming up to introduce the president, Joyce Bender. And wait, I had
Yeah.
withdrawn because I had
You had
the
the
contract.
contract.
I had the
Exactly. Yeah.
contract with
Yeah.
been in
Yeah.
conflict of interest.
Yeah.
Uh, and then the voice of God, and now to introduce the president, and it was David.
Yeah.
And I died. And Valerie looked at me and I shook my head. Someone forgot to give her the change. I always wonder
Yeah.
what happened to that person.
Yeah.
But Tony Quello said to me, well, look at this. If you would go tell people, I was asked to introduce the president, they would say, oh, yeah, right. Now they know it's true. All they have to do is look at that video and they
Yeah.
will hear her saying it was
Yeah.
you. Oh my
That's
goodness.
true.
Yeah, I will
You know
never
what I
forget that.
remember about that day that's pretty funny? So I get to the office in the morning and I knew I was going to go to the signing, but I didn't know I was going to play a bigger role. And I looked at what I was wearing and I thought, oh my God, I can't wear this. I jumped in my car, drove to Nordstrom at Pentagon City Mall, bought a new jacket, and I think I kept the same pants. I just changed the jacket to a nicer outfit and went back to the office and changed and then went over to the White House. But
That
that's what I
day.
remember, being in a big rush to
Oh,
get a new
yeah.
outfit.
Well,
Yeah,
see, we both have.
I
We
know.
both have things that happened that day.
Yep, yep, that was a
Well,
good day.
yeah. Well, Chris, I am so honored that you chose to work with Bender Consulting Services, but you are working in a special area, which is
Yep.
retained search.
Mhm.
And I thought I'd let you talk about that.
Well, yeah, as you know, I love working with you. You and I both have a passion for the employment of people with disabilities. I've always said that I think real inclusion in this society will happen when we are in the workplace in a much more significant way and numbers. Because when you're in the workplace with people without disabilities and you're doing the same job they're doing, they start to look at you differently. And that's where I personally saw a change in how people treated me as a woman with a disability. And so I know that's true for everybody else too. So employment has always been a passion. Every access to everything is important, don't get me wrong, but employment is really, I think, the key to full inclusion. And we just aren't where we should be. And so you and I share that passion, and I love working with you because of that. And you know that we've been working on a variety of searches that focus on executive search, leadership positions within organizations. And so I love doing that. And we've done a number of great searches, whether it was World Institute on Disability, uh, uh, Disability Rights Advocates, a number of ILCs, the California Foundation for Independent Living. I love working with them. Sydney and New York. I did the search for the Disability Law Center. Several years after I left, they were looking for a new executive director, and I did that search. I've done a number of protection advocacy agency leadership searches, and I love doing this work. It's very very rewarding.
Yes, you also found the head of the National Disability on National Council on Disability Rights. Is that right? NDRN.
Oh, NDRN.
Yeah,
Yes. Yep. I did
NDRN.
the
That's
search
what I
for the
meant.
leader
Yeah.
of NDRN, who's an amazing woman. And I'm trying to think, most recently, I've done a lot of independent living centers, but, we've done a lot of national searches. And it's like I said, very rewarding and fun to do. And
Hmm.
we're working with organizations that are committed to hiring people with disabilities in leadership positions, and that's the key. So that's how we're going to change things in this world.
That is right. And that is the only way we're going to change things. Also, right before you joined me, you placed Maria Town at
That's correct. That's
AAPD.
how I get started in this. You were on the board of AAPD, and I had been the chair years before, and they were looking for someone to do the search, and I volunteered to do it, and that's how I really cut my teeth on the executive search business and resulted in Maria Town, and who's, great leader throughout this country. And I've also gone on to do a couple of other searches for them. Their director of public policy, their chief operating officer. So I've worked closely in partnership with AAPD for many, many years. And most recently, I should have mentioned I did the search for the Autism Self-Advocacy
Oh,
Network.
yeah, that's
Yep.
right.
And yep, had a great experience there. There's now a great leader there. And I, you know, it's been fun.
So, Chris, what is, I know what it is, but what is your feeling when these organizations want you to find someone, but not a person with a disability? Not,
This is
not required.
yeah. This is really a problem. And Andy Imparato and I were talking about this just the other day, that there are still disability organizations in this country. There's independent living centers, there's membership and leadership organizations for various people with disabilities, and yet they continue to hire people without disabilities.
Mhm.
And I just, this is how many years? It's going to be 36 years since the passage of the ADA, and we're still fighting this fight, still arguing that it should be people with disabilities leading these organizations. Um, and without representation in these organizations, how do we think we're going to make these changes? We need to have representation, we need to have a voice, and we need to be the solution to inclusion in this country and employment.
And we feel so strongly about this
Hmm.
that we will not work on that search. We will give up the money if it is not a person with a disability.
That's
And
right.
sometimes these are big disability organizations. I cannot imagine why they
Yep.
feel like that when we have this high unemployment. I know it breaks your heart every time, Chris.
Yeah, it really does. It gets to me. But we have this motto in the community, nothing about us without us. And yet we continue to go on and hire people without disabilities to run protection advocacy agencies, some independent living centers, although you don't see as much in that sector. But certainly the big national disability organizations, I won't name them, but a lot of them have done hiring recently and they hire people without disabilities. And it's sad that, we're the largest minority group in the country. We're well educated, we have experience, and the issue isn't capacity, it's opportunity and it's access and it's having a voice. And so it's really, it's so discouraging when you meet an organization that won't commit to that. So,
Well, just to put this in perspective, NAACP
yeah,
telling the board saying, well, we're going to hire a white, you can include white people. I mean, why would you ever do that? Or, yes, we chose a white person, but they have adopted a African American child.
yeah,
Because how often do we hear, well, can't you hire a parent? A parent
I
of
know.
of a person with a disability? No, we can't.
This
If you don't
bothers
have,
me too. Yeah, that, a lot of times, it's parents of people with disabilities that think they know more than the person, than their own, you know, uh, son or daughter who has a disability. And we know as people with disabilities they don't. And I sometimes think that parents of people with disabilities have found this as sort of a niche employment sector for themselves because they think they're so close as allies that they are as good as hiring a person with the disabilities, when in fact their sons and daughters should be hired as instead of them. So,
Mhm,
I know parents have done a great job and are good allies in a number of ways, but they shouldn't be taking the jobs that rightly go to people with disabilities.
mhm. Well, before we talk about the side where you're searching for people with disabilities, for not-for-profits listening to the show right now, no matter where they are located, that are looking for an executive director or will be, would you mind sharing what you do? Like what happens
Mhm.
that you do?
Well, the first thing I do is I provide them with a very detailed draft proposal of the services I will provide. And we'll begin with a discussion about who and what type of qualifications and skills the person must have. We'll look at their job description. If they don't have one, we'll create one. We'll help them create one. From there, we create a job announcement that's what gets advertised and put out to the world. We then, before that, I develop a marketing strategy plan to make sure that they know how we're going to market their job posting around the country. And then from there, we start gathering resumes and I scrutinize every single one. I write a weekly report to the search committee on everybody that applies, whether they meet qualifications or not. I want them to see the breadth of people that are applying. And then from there, I make recommendations on whether they should have a telephone interview with me. I conduct the telephone interviews of the people that the search committee want me to. And then from there, based on the write-up of each telephone interview, they make a decision on who to invite for a first round interview. I develop the questions, set up the interviews. Then we go through the first level of interview process with as many candidates as they choose. And then after that, it gets whittled down to, two or three really good candidates that they're interested in to bring back for a second interview. Develop the second interview questions and set that all up. And once those are conducted, the search committee makes a decision, they make a recommendation to their board. The board hopefully gets to meet the candidates. Sometimes they want the staff to meet the two finalists or the three finalists and get their input. And then from there, a decision is made about who to hire. It takes roughly, a good search takes roughly 3 to 4 months. It depends on how quick I can get things scheduled. It's really usually the search committee. They're, a group of people that they're on nonprofit boards and they work full time, and so this is a volunteer position that they're doing. So, they have limited time to get this stuff done, to do all these interviews, but we figure that out, and the length of time is really dictated by how fast you can get the interviews scheduled. So,
So really, what the part that the search committee is doing is interviewing the person,
yes,
choosing the person.
they're reviewing materials every week that I provide them on who's interviewed. They're making choices about who even I will conduct a telephone interview with. And then they're making choices about who to interview and participating in all the interviews. So,
Well, and what I
and I
mean,
try.
you do everything else though for
Right.
them.
My goal is always, Joyce, to make this easy for the search committee, knowing that they're busy people, that they're all working full time, that this is their volunteer job. And I really do work hard to make sure that they have everything that they need to, conduct a really good search and make their life easy for them.
And I would have to say it makes a big difference if the person handling the search for an organization that is hiring an executive director for a disability not for profit is a person with a disability,
Yeah,
because who would know better?
yeah, yeah. Yeah, and we could talk about the search I'm doing right now, but a lot of times, especially when you work with an independent living center, the majority of the people are people with disabilities. The majority of the people on their board are people with disabilities, and their search committee is usually made up of members of their board as well as consumers that are in the community. So it's a good opportunity for them to weigh in on who should be their next leader.
And do you interview the people on the search committee? I mean, how do you find
No.
out exactly what they're looking for?
Well, yes, I interview. That's my first, once they sign the contract with us, then the very next thing I do is set up a Zoom call with the search committee and talk to them about what they're looking for. Sometimes they also want me to talk to the staff. They want me to talk to people in the community. I'll do basically whatever the search committee wants me to do to create a really robust position announcement and with all the skills and qualifications they're looking for. But yes, I interview them and listen to them and take down everything they say and make sure that that's incorporated into either the job description and or the announcement.
So if someone would be interested in working with you, what do they do?
They would just, they can contact Benda. They can contact you at your main number in your company and you'll forward it to me, or they can email me directly. And it's C Griffin, CGRIFFIN at benderconsult.com. And they can just email me and say, hey, we're interested in talking to you about a search, and that'll initiate the discussion.
So they pay a fee. You
Mm-hmm.
get the salary, really, what estimated
Yep.
salary,
Yep.
divided into three payments.
Yep.
First payment is to initiate the search.
Correct.
Second payment is after you have sent candidates.
Mm-hmm.
And the third is the final payment after, it's decided what
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
salary will
Yeah.
be.
And thanks to you, Joyce, much to your credit, Benda charges a very modest fee for these services. If you talk to any other search company in the country, you would be paying, their fee would be much higher than ours. So Joyce has a process by which she gives a discount to nonprofits, and we've even given further discounts to organizations that we've worked with before.
Mhm.
So, we recognize that a lot of these nonprofits do not have they're not rolling the dough and they don't have a lot of extra money to throw around. And so we try and accommodate what they can pay.
Yes, and we do not charge for the bonus. We do not charge for any other things, actually. And just as Chris said, much less expensive
Mhm.
than a well-known executive search firm.
And that's because this is, as I said, this is a passion for you and I and for Bender as a company. This is a passion. This is a mission. This isn't just a means of making money. Um,
Hmm.
that being said, we're professionals and we want to get paid for our work just like everybody else. So, it's not a charity by any means, but we do recognize that fee is modest compared to a lot of search companies. How many times we won't mention the name of the organization, but I know there's one that actually we did a search for, and then the person left many years later, and they were initiating a new search, and they ended up going with they thought they'd get, better candidates by going with this big firm that knew nothing about disability. And what did they say when they saw you at a conference, Joyce? They said, we really wish we had gone back to Benda. And, that's the truth. And we work hard and we accommodate them in every way and satisfy every request that they have. And so we think about this differently than just some search firm.
Hmm.
We just
Yeah,
do.
it is a passion
Hmm.
to us. And yet we have the highest standards.
Hmm.
We're not going to send someone unless they're top notch. And Chris, you get a lot of people referred by different avenues, but one is because of you, how well known you are, that you can call people in your network that are
Yeah.
disability rights leaders across the country.
Yeah. I'll tell you, the best candidates I find, frankly, don't come from job postings in various places. They come from me picking up the phone and making, you know, 50 phone calls to people I know all over the country and say, hey, look at this job announcement. Do you know someone that might be good for this position? And really good leaders have even said to me, I've got this stellar employee. I would hate to see them go, and I'll probably regret telling you this, but this would be a perfect opportunity for them to advance. And so I'm going to talk to them and refer them to you. And Andy's a perfect example of that. He's referred, some of his own really good employees because he sees this as, like we do, as an opportunity to advance people with disabilities into leadership positions.
Mhm.
So I call people all over the country and talk to them about who they think would be good for a particular position. And I get some great candidates that way. The best
Mhm.
candidates I get that way. And I
Mhm.
think you and I both know you have an extensive network. We have a database too of many people. I mean, some people won't get a job that I they were a candidate for, and I'll come back to them and say, hey, I have this other opportunity. So we have a great database to begin with. Then we also have connections all over the country, you and I both. And through those connections, we find great candidates.
Yes, we have a vendor consulting services 40,000 people in our database. So, we get people referred from everywhere, but Chris has a LinkedIn site on LinkedIn. She's on LinkedIn. And you can, so as she said, vendor consult, C. Griffin at vendorconsult.com, or just go to our website and apply, or get in touch with me, and we'll be sure to get back to you. But right now, this is going to be one of your favorite times, Chris.
Yes.
It's time for our news break with Mathis on the mic. Jennifer, I'm with one of your favorite people. You finally got on with Chris.
Yes, Chris
Jennifer,
is one of
how
my
are
favorite people.
you?
I'm good. It is
Good.
great
Is
to
that
see
snow
you.
icy outside there in DC?
Indeed.
Uh,
No snow.
good.
No snow, right? Where you are?
No, they got snow, didn't you?
We got a little. It's not
Yeah,
too bad.
yeah. We got buried, but
Yes.
I know you got some. Yeah. So good to see you, Jennifer.
Yes.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Well,
So,
Jennifer is here with
yes.
our news for the day. So, what is the news that you're going to bring to us today?
So what I wanted to highlight today is a webinar that is happening tomorrow, February 25th. Um, this is a webinar that DREDF is doing, the Disability Rights Education and Defense Fund, and it is on a topic that we have talked about on the news segment before on your show, which is this lawsuit that Texas and 8 other states have brought challenging the Section 504 regulation that HHS, the Department of Health and Human Services, issued in 2024. And specifically, at this point in time, there's a new version of the lawsuit that was just filed that focuses very, very specifically on Olmstead, on community integration. And so, what Texas and these other 8 states are saying is that um, the integration mandate in Section 504 is not does not mean what we think it means and
Mm,
what we have always understood it to mean for decades now, and what the courts have said it means for decades now. They are really launching a full-scale attack on Olmstead, and this is very, very important. This goes to some of the most core fundamental rights that people with disabilities have to live in their own homes and communities, to not be segregated unnecessarily in institutions, in other congregate settings. And so if you tune in tomorrow, the webinar, which is called The Renewed Attack on Section 504 and Olmstead, will happen at 1:30 Eastern Time. It is for an hour and a half, so it lasts from 1:30 to 3 o'clock Eastern. And you can sign up, you can register for this webinar by going to DREDF's website, which is dredf.org. It is, if you have to scroll down a little bit, if you look at upcoming events, this webinar is the first thing that is listed, and you just click on register for the webinar. And the webinar will feature 4 of us. I am going to talk about the law, the details of this lawsuit, what Texas is saying, what the rule said about the integration mandate, and what Texas is saying, and why they are arguing, we think wrongly, that the rule is invalid. They're saying it's unconstitutional and that it is illegal and it has to be struck down. They're also saying very, very problematic things about what they think the integration mandate means under 504 and the ADA. And so we'll talk about that. The webinar is also going to feature Maria Town,
Mm.
from American Association of People with Disabilities, Theo Brady
Oh,
from
great.
National Council on Independent Living, and Claudia Center from DREDF. Claudia
Mhm.
is really leading the webinar, and we will, between all of us, talk about, what this is, what this means, what's at stake, and what you can do.
Mm.
And so I just wanted to highlight that for people and to make sure that people know where to go to register. Again, it is dredf.org is the website. And if you go to upcoming events, um, that's where you can register.
Okay. Do you know, for people that cannot see it, do you think it will be recorded?
I don't know. I actually I suspect it will be because I think the last webinar that DREDF did on this lawsuit was recorded as well. So I
Mhm.
suspect that it will be. Um, People can ask when if they want to register and they know they can't do it, I think they can ask at that time, but I suspect that it will be.
Mhm.
You know, Jennifer,
I
this is so sad because look at how hard we worked to
I
get our attorney generals in every state who all jumped on the bandwagon and signed the anti-Olmsted let
Yes.
part of the case. And we all worked very hard in every state to get our attorney generals to take their name off. In Massachusetts, we were successful by getting the Attorney General, Tom Riley, to come off. He had already signed on. We told him why it was important to get his name off. We brought consumers who had been institutionalized and now are in the community, and we let them tell him why this was important. And he took his name off. And I know that happened all over the country.
Yes,
And we're going, I mean, we're taking big, huge leaps backwards. And it's
exactly.
really sad.
Exactly. And Chris is referring to when Olmsted was in the Supreme Court,
Yeah.
there were a lot of states that signed on to a brief initially asking the court to take the case and saying that bad things were going to happen if they upheld the integration
If
mandate.
states had to,
And
yeah.
right. And then many of those states then turned around, realized that that was not what they actually believed and not what they
Yeah.
actually meant,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
filed statements with the court actually saying we disclaim what was said in that brief, and actually many of them filed a brief supporting the
Yeah.
integration
Yeah.
mandate.
Yeah. What year was that?
It was 19, well, the decision was 1999.
Yeah.
And if I recall, the argument was in 1999 too.
Yeah. So look at how many years we've enjoyed the benefits. People have actually benefited to live in the community and be included because of that decision. How important is that decision? And to even see anyone saying that this this is something that somehow is wrong to do, that I don't know what's their argument. Is it cost? Is it
Well, they're making a bunch of arguments. They're saying that the regulation goes beyond what the Supreme Court said because the regulation says a state has to administer its services in the most integrated setting appropriate, which has been the law, again, for
right?
many, many, many years.
Yeah.
And they are saying that it is a surprise that states, when they take federal money, would have no idea,
Yeah.
despite the decades of case law, that this is what is required.
Yeah.
And they're making a number of arguments. It's arbitrary and capricious. It violates the Administrative Procedures Act, etc. So we can talk about it in greater detail tomorrow.
Yeah.
And
All right. That's great. That'll be a great webinar.
yep.
Jennifer, what do you think is the possibility this could happen? The bad
Well,
part.
well, who knows?
Yeah.
I think that it is important at this point to get these states off of this case, and we are hoping to get rid of this case. And
Well,
so,
as you know, you've had an impact when you brought up different issues on this radio show. What should listeners do?
Well, certainly two things. I mean, one is we've talked about this a little bit before on the show, which is if you are in one of these 9 states, and I will read them in a minute, but if you're in one of these 9 states, you should reach out to your attorney general and tell them to stop attacking Olmsted, to stop attacking 504, and um, get rid of this lawsuit, to get out of it. So that is, I think, the most important thing. And then secondly, tune into the webinar if you can, because we'll have a lot more detail about this. And I will just say the 9 states are Alaska, Florida, Indiana, Kansas, Louisiana, Missouri, Montana, and South Dakota. And DREDF has on their website a list of how to contact the attorneys general in those 9 states.
Okay, please do that. I always say if something bad happens, then everyone's, oh no, how did that happen? Okay, do something now.
Do something now. And we did this when the Olmsted brief was filed with the Supreme Court. We can do it again.
Yes,
Exactly.
do something now.
Yeah.
Well, Jennifer, we will look forward to hearing from you about all of this next week. Thank you. Always, always a delight to have you on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
Bye,
Take
Jennifer.
care.
Great seeing you.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
She is so smart.
She's great. Yeah.
I am
She
so
is.
honored to have
Yep.
her on
Yep.
every week because she just brings the most timely news. Chris, time goes so fast. So before this show ends in about 10 minutes, let's talk about the opening. You have an
Okay,
opening
yeah.
right
So
now.
I am very excited to let people know that I am doing the search to find the next executive director for Rolling Start Incorporated. This is a dynamic independent living center in San Bernardino. They call it the Inland Empire in California. It's west of LA. It's San Bernardino County, Monroe, Mono County, and Inyo County. Those 3 counties. It's a big piece of land that they cover, and they serve people with disabilities. They've been around for 50 years. And 50 years of empowering people with disabilities and teaching them independent living skills. It's just a great organization. They're looking for someone who has vision and has good nonprofit management experience to partner with the board. They have to have a deep commitment to disability rights and independent living. They really need to know what the independent living philosophy means. And they'll be the chief executive, working with the board, leading the staff, strengthening partnerships with other disability organizations throughout the state. So this is a great opportunity for someone. The salary range is $90,000 to $100,000. It's a full-time job. It's an in-person job. It is not hybrid. You have a choice, I guess, of being in the office in San Bernardino, or there's another office in Victorsville. I guess if you live near there, you could choose that to be your home base. But you have to do a lot of traveling around that area, the area that they cover, which is pretty extensive in those 3 counties. So it's just a great opportunity for someone, and they can apply by sending a resume and cover letter to me at cgriffin@benderconsult.com. And we'll take a look and put you into the pool of applicants. And we're looking for someone with a disability who, really has a commitment to everything we talked about, but also has good nonprofit management experience.
Yeah, and wow, what a great opportunity.
Yeah, this is a good opportunity.
What a great
California is
opportunity.
a great state with I guess the largest number of independent living centers. They've got a great association that I've worked with. The California Foundation for Independent Living Centers is their statewide association, most of the independent living centers in the state. I think there's 28 of them. they belong to this organization. So it's a really good opportunity to learn from each other and connect with other people in other parts of the state. And, you'd be part of a really great system in California.
Okay, and one more time. Well, I want to say this first. If you're listening, you say, "Oh no, I'm not looking right now," but who do you know? So
Yes.
many people have lost their job,
Yep.
sadly. So many people. So please spread the news to
Yeah.
others about this opening.
And go on benderconsult.com. You can see the job opening there. You can forward it to anybody that you think might be interested. You can have them contact me. I'll be happy to talk to them. I'm talking to someone later on today who's interested, who wants to just ask some questions about the position to decide if they want to apply. I'm happy to do that as well. So just go to benderconsult.com or contact me at cgriffin@benderconsult.com, and we'll get you the information you need. Again, whether you're going to apply or whether you want to just forward it to someone you know.
Yeah, and they would get that from the website, Chris?
Yes, it's on your website. The job posting is on your website at benderconsult.com, and I can send that. It's on a number of websites already. It's on ID ILRU, which is the independent living educational component of the independent living. They do research about independent living, and they have a great job posting board. It's posted on NDRN's job site, wherever they have a job posting site that I know people with disabilities look at. I have it posted there as well. So it's in a number of places, but we know it's at benderconsult.com. So you can
And
go
I want to
there.
repeat, there are a lot of people that have lost their job.
Hmm.
You know someone at a senior level that would be great for this job. You've got to let them know. You've got to send them to benderconsult.com. And Chris, what do you like about this job the most?
I think connecting with other people with disabilities all over the country. Still find that fascinating. I meet new people all the time. I certainly talk to all my old friends, of course, but I get to meet new people with disabilities who are coming up into the community as leaders, and I get to meet them, and it's really great, and it's great talking to them and hearing what they're doing, and there's some great people out there,
Yes, they are.
and that's my
Um,
favorite part is just meeting and talking to people throughout the country.
mhm. And one thing I talk to people about, Chris, is urgency.
Hmm.
Don't sit around and think, oh, do I really want to do this? Would this be perfect for me? What should I do? You need to review it. You need to send in your resume
Yeah,
because by the time you get in touch with Chris, that
yeah.
position could be long gone.
That's a good point, Joyce. I didn't mention that the soft closing date is March 15th, and they're going to be looking at people on a rolling basis. So if you don't come in quick and they find someone they really like early on, you may be out of luck. So it's important that you really get your resume and cover letter in before March 15th. But it doesn't, that's not a hard date. I mean, if someone great appears on March 16th, I know that the search committee will look at them as well. But it is important to get it in earlier rather than later.
Yeah, you want to get in. Chris, I also tell people, and I don't know, I know you do too, but don't you think it's a good idea to do some research about this organization
Oh,
ahead of time?
absolutely. I mean, I don't know anyone that would apply for a job that hasn't gone on the organization, company, whatever it is, website and learn as much as they can about what they're doing, how they do it, what their staff is about, who's doing what, and then learning more about the whole system. If you're not part of the ILC movement in California, already, I would want to know what they're doing statewide together. So that you can look at on the California Foundation for Independent Living Centers, cfilc.org, or you can go to rollingstart.org and find out all that information. But certainly you should be doing research before you apply, before you write your cover letter. I like a cover letter that actually lets me know that they've researched and they know what they're applying for.
Mhm. Yeah, and another thing I want to say about this, if you send information, if you send questions and you're really interested in this, and Chris gets back to you, please get back promptly. It's so annoying when people tell you they're going to get back to you and you're waiting, and have to call them
Mhm.
again, because just so you know, sometimes that gives Chris and I an image of what you're like. As I said, in this case, you snooze, you lose.
Yeah,
Get in touch right away. Well,
yeah.
Chris, before we end the show
Mhm.
today, um, you know, so many people, this is like a coming from all angles, this desperation. Uh, a lot of people have lost their jobs.
Mhm.
A lot of companies have had losses, so they're laying people
Yeah,
off.
yeah.
And AI is impacting
Hmm.
certain segments of the company.
Correct.
What of the country? What advice do you have for people with disabilities that feel like, oh, there's no hope? Huh? I've worked for the government all these years. How am I going to find anything? What advice do you have?
I think there's always hope, and there's plenty of jobs that are open. Yes, there's a war on DEI right now, and that's causing a lot of people to lose their positions in various companies and certainly in the federal government. And there are opportunities out there. There are a lot of, if you want to stay in the disability area of work. There's plenty of sites that you can look at to find jobs. Like I said, National Disability Rights Network, they advertise jobs within the P&A system, but they also advertise jobs that are disability related outside of their system. And so, Rolling Start is posted there. ILRU posts all independent living center positions that are open, as does NICL, National Council on Independent Living. They do it as well. Your site, Bender always has, I mean, you have a list of jobs right now that people can apply for. And they aren't all in the disability field. That's more what I do. But you work with private companies and corporations all the time filling jobs. So you don't have to be only a disability advocate. You can have skills doing, you can be an engineer, you can be a teacher, you can be a nurse. I think you have a bunch of nurse positions open right now, don't you, Joyce?
Yes, a
So,
lot of
yeah.
nurses. Yes,
So
nurses with
there are plenty of
disabilities.
opportunities out there. Don't
Hmm.
don't lose hope and just you know, be be aware that there are opportunities out there, but you have to do a little research and work to find them.
And, just so you know, our theme this year at Bender is determination. And we talk about unwavering focus. Don't give up.
Yeah, yeah,
Someone that Chris knows very well and how phenomenal she is, Jamie, with
yeah,
this
yeah,
great academic background, top in her class, sent out her resume to 100 different people. 100,
yeah,
and didn't hear anything back.
yeah,
But I was number 101. And it just so happened that right that time I was working on something at Highmark that was remote. And now she's in a high level senior project manager position, but she didn't give up. And this is what I'm saying, don't give up.
yeah.
And even go to Chamber of Commerce's website,
Yep,
just as Chris
yep,
said, all different places, different organizations, AAPD, go to different
yep.
organizations. Say there's a company you're really interested in. You should be looking at the website.
Hmm.
You should be looking at the opportunities and talk to everyone. Everyone you know, talk to them. Hey, I'm looking for employment. Any ideas? I mean, talk to everyone you
Yes.
know. Even if it's someone, this is, well, we don't have anything. Oh, that's okay. I just wanted to see if you had any suggestions of
Hmm.
where you think I should send my resume.
That's right.
But I will say, don't give up. No matter
Exactly.
what, don't give up. And with that, we have a quote at the end of every show. And today, that quote is: part of the problem is that we tend to think that equality is about treating everyone the same when it's not. It's about fairness, it's about equity of access. Said Judy Human.
Good
This
quote.
is Joyce Bender, America's Voice, where disability matters at voiceamerica.com. Thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you.
C. Griffin at benderconsult.com. And in the words of Mary Brocker, when you get up tomorrow, remember, choose joy. You can't go wrong. Talk to you all next week.